of our agenda and speakers tonight. For the initial session, we'll break out into two separate and simultaneously occurring sessions of about 45 minutes to an hour each. Breakout session number one will be the Kalimantan Coal Mine Masterclass, highlighting legal, commercial, and environmental issues arising in the process of acquiring an existing Indonesian mining company in Kalimantan. That will be led by Mr. Vivek Agarwal of PT Oruka, an energy and coal mining firm. It will be held in the breakout session number two. Will deal with the fascinating subject of remote sensing and GIS application for land management, led by the aforementioned Bapak Agus Salim, who is an environmental consulting expert with our co-sponsor, PT Headfield Consulting. We will discuss the use of satellite observation technology techniques and other ways technology can be adapted by mining and other natural resources businesses as an important aid in the measurement and decision-making process. Our second session, which will start, I guess, around 7:45 and continue until closing at about 9 p.m. tonight, will be our panel discussion regarding opportunities in the mining sector through 2014-2015. As noted previously, moderator for the panel is Mr. Tracy Reynolds, Senior Trade Commissioner for the Komisi. Tonight, our distinguished speakers panel features Bapak Dr. R. Sukhyar, General of Minerals and Coal of the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources, Bapak Bobby A. Rizaldi from the Golkar Party and member of Commission 7 of the DPR. It's the Energy Commission, I believe. Joining us as well is Bapak Dr. Darmawan Prasodjo from the Indonesian Democratic Party and an energy economist. Those three gentlemen. Our distinguished panelists will discuss and answer your questions on your current situation and business environment with respect to mining and opportunities provided in the mining sector in Indonesia, and will give us a glimpse of the outlook for opportunities in the mining sector for this year, next year, beyond.
When Chris invited me for this event, I didn't know that it would be a soul-searching experience for me as well to look into our process, our difficulties. If I had to summarize our experience in one word, it would be adventurous. Second word, frustrating. So that should come out as we discuss. I'm happy to take questions at any time if it's relevant. If not, happy to meet you after as well. Up to you. A little bit about Oruka. We are a renewable energy company in India. We have 16 hydropower stations operational presently, a total of 160 megawatts. We have plans to set up a 300 megawatt coal fire in South India where the industrial demand is very high. While most of the coal-fired and big generation units are mostly northeast India because of the coal mining and coal fields are all northeast India. So we have a plan to set up in South India. We have got wind. Installed capacity is small today, but we have a tie-up with GE in India today, where we're looking at trying to bring it to 150 megawatts. We have got some biomass coming up. Indonesia has got similar resources outside of wind. I've studied the wind, it doesn't look too promising, but outside of wind, hydro, coal-fired, biomass, solar, all of these are viable opportunities. So our presence here is to look at those opportunities and see if we can try and enter something else besides coal. Coal being a commodity is very volatile, to say the least, even for us. So moving on. We came here about 4 years ago in the effort when there was a big boom, if you remember. Everybody wanted to invest in Indonesia. Everybody wanted to be here in the coal mining sector. So we decided to follow the wave, and we followed everybody here. And we went and did a deal with a local Indonesian person who spoke English, very good English. And so we found out later that he is from a university in the US and he's been a pilot. And he had his numbers right. His DNA seemed good, his entire approach seemed very, very presentable, friendly. So we did a deal with him for an IUP exploration. That, at that point, I did not trust anybody. I didn't want to trust anybody. I didn't want to talk to anybody. We came with the Indian mindset that, look, hard work, effort, you'll get it done. You can find a way out, you'll find your solution, you'll find something, you'll get it done. But that was the biggest mistake I made. So, at which point then we started escalating all of this, trying to still fight the entire process to get our license IUP out. We did not know what to do, didn't know who to speak to, didn't know who would help us, didn't know which consultant was right, which was wrong. Everybody had different points of view. The mining department in Jakarta said something different, the mining department in Tenggarong and in local said something different. So we had different perspectives and it was extremely confusing, frustrating. We'd submit some document and say something else is missing. So we'd go looking for that document, go and prepare our next. So it was just firefighting. There was no plan, there was no process, there was no transparency of process, there was no understanding of process. It was just simply fighting every day. So finally, it took us 3 years to figure out the process, to figure out how the licensing works, what is the systems, what do they expect, how they want it to work, how they expect the system to deliver, what is the transparency and accountability in the system, how do you extract that and get your work done. That took us 3 years. But from that point till now, thankfully we've got our IUP very recently. From that point till now was a learning experience unparalleled. It was something that even the consultant was unable to explain, that this is the process. So one of the key points is there is a process there, but you and me as foreign, at least me as a foreign investor, has no idea and cannot find out. It's completely opaque to a normal layman. You have to have somebody who knows the department, who knows people there, who's willing to go there and send you back information. So based on which we have, so that's part of the experiential nightmare, so to speak. But I've highlighted here a process of acquisition. Now I don't know how detailed you want to go into this, but I can start from the top, from the heads, and I'm happy to go into as much detail as you want about what we follow as a process of acquisition. Post IUP-OP, we no longer talk to, deal with IUP exploration. We do not. If we do, it's only because the mine is good, but the owner cannot have any agreement with Baruka unless there is an IUP-OP on the table. We will not talk to them. We will not deal with them. Because the IUP-OP experience has taught us a lot, that the system is not transparent. It's very difficult to navigate the system as a foreign investor. Today, even today, for us, it's been extremely difficult. We don't want to repeat the pain. That's the system that doesn't work here. You have to have a local partner. You have to have someone you can trust, you can build your trust with, and you can live with. If you do not have a local partner who can support you, find another one. Replace him. But I would strongly recommend, don't go into a venture, at least coal mining, without a local partner. You will end up having to do everything by yourself, and you'll end up coming to me for the pain. I'll have to be the doctor again. So we look at technical, mostly the licenses. There are a lot of licenses, and I've listed out those licenses, especially from East Kalimantan on the last page that you need. There's 14 mine-related licenses and other corporate clearances you need before you can get your IUP. And the funny thing is, each one is sequential. So you cannot parallelly process any of these. We tried. we lost money. Because we started parallel processing of, let's say, Amdal, and we said, no, we'll also do the Jaminan Reklamasi. And they would come back and say, okay, yeah, you start this, the presentation is here, there, and then you start building a team, you put a team in place, and the team is ready to start, and you anticipate that after this is 1 month away, are you POP? Nothing happens. They will come back to you and say, no, but that's not complete, there's some problem. They're very thorough with their documentation. The department, mining department, very thorough. They will not miss a single cross or a dot. So you have to be very careful when you are. You can't go in there thinking you're going to pull one over their eyes, and you should not. You have to know. Sometimes there are 30 people in a presentation from different departments. To organize a presentation like that takes almost 2 weeks, 3 weeks, just to get 30 people in a room from all over the province. Land department, environmental department, forest department, oil and gas department, the mining department. Each one will send 3 or 4 people, 30 people in a room. It's a nightmare. And they have questions. And each one has objections to certain things and certain aspects of your mine plan or of your concession. And each person has the right to. How do you deal with that? So you have to go in knowing that you have to have a good plan, a good partner, good consultant who will give you your paperwork, who will make sure your paperwork is updated, complete, as per regulation, as per requirement, as per local requirement. Sequentially, this is the other problem. Everything moves sequentially. So if you start the Amdal process, for example, Amdal is the environmental clearance. There is a precursor to it called the KA Amdal. I didn't know that until we started it. And the consultant said, no, pa, we have to do this first. Okay, how long will this take? Oh, this needs about 3 presentations and it needs about 4 to 5 months. Okay, we'll start this process first. In between, I said, no, why can't we start the Amdal as well? What's the problem? I mean, it's the same document, isn't it? Eventually, I get an Amdal license for both these documents put together. Okay, yeah, if you insist. He took money from me as a consultant to start the documentation, to start the process, and ended up nowhere. Why? Because they said your Amdal is not done, Amdal is not acceptable. We won't even accept your documents now. Rework them. So, sequential. They do not like to do parallel processing because they need to clear out every step of the way. Acquisition. Sitting in Jakarta, so far, my experience has been, we do not get the right sites, concessions for takeovers sitting here. You have to have people, ears and eyes on the ground in your area of target area. Having people in Jakarta, sitting in Jakarta, you're going to get recycled sites. So far, every other week, I will get a new site, but it's been recycled and recycled. It's been rejected. Why? Because commercials don't match, licensing issue, logistics issue, 100 kilometers to the jetty. You know, a lot of these things investors don't notice because they're sitting here, they say, hey, I got a site, look at this, let's examine this further, but you will spend money trying to look at it even. You will spend money going to the site, you will spend money trying to talk to the owner, you will spend money trying to get everybody on the table. You will spend money on due diligence if you think it's good on paper. And eventually, these are rejected sites. So, you have to have people on the ground. You have to have people, talk to the mining department if you're looking for sites. They have got every site. And also the owners will come to them. A few of the points I've mentioned here is that the owners of these sites typically do not have the capital to start. So they often look for investors in different financial models. So one is they will ask you for money and they will say, you give me money, I will do the mining, I will return your money, and you have my coal as collateral. I'm not a bank. I'm not going to do that. I'm not a bank. But having said that, you allow me to take 51%, I will put the money, I will do the infrastructure, capital expenditure, I will put the working capital, I'll put the team, I'll put the equipment, I'll take up the coal and give you royalty. How's that? That can work as well. But no, I want to do the mining. It's my mine. So there's a lot of things that we've understood that the system, the banking system does not have or does not support coal mining with, working capital to the extent that you need today. We've spoken to a few banks here. They've said, yes, okay, maybe, we can do non-fund-based limits. Excellent. But we cannot do fund-based cash limits. A little difficult. Coal is volatile. Your prices are very volatile. What if your price goes down? Are you still going to pay me? So these are questions that even you as a miner might not be able to answer at that point. So coming back, what's important is that you need to have people on the ground. Something you better be prepared for deeper into the coast, away from the coast. Look for something that matches the calorie. Today, infrastructure is the biggest issue we face when we look at coal mining. Today, for example, we saw a mine recently. This is again in Kalimantan, 1793 hectares. Excellent mine. Limestone deposits on top. 21 million proven reserve. JORC compliant reserve of 12 million, right?
JORC 12 and proven reserve
21. Which is further expandable, right? If we do some more exploration, detailed due diligence, I'm sure we can find another 10 million there. Owner is very reasonable, talks very good English, Chinese, Indonesian, born in Malaysia. So he's got a very international outlook, very savvy, very business focused, friendly to talk to. He says you don't even need to put it onto a barge. You just put it onto a truck. I've got so many customers all lined up waiting to pick up this coal. 6,500 calorie, GAR basis, not even ADB basis. What's the biggest problem? My customers want it on a vessel. What is the hauling distance? 52 kilometers. Hauling that coal 52 kilometers has got many risks, not just the cost. And then managing that entire process, the jetty itself, he says, no, we put the capex for the jetty. You will put it. Okay, what's the cost? Oh, $1.5 million. Okay, does that come from you or me? No, you will invest. But I give you a takeover cost. I do the capex, excellent. Who's the owner of the jetty? No, I service for you. See, the concept is not clear there. Right there. Gray area. Red flags, gray area. So the point is, logistics is and infrastructure is a big challenge in Kalimantan at least, that we are aware of, that we see. We don't find it easy to, and so you have to find solutions. You have to find solutions to find solutions for hauling, to find solutions for barging, to find solutions for even getting your product to market, to vessel. Superimpose your coordinates on these maps. You will get the information you need. Once we have that, we estimate the strip ratio, which is something you can only do once you have done detailed due diligence, which we have not done so far. We cannot trust his glossy report. His report looks very beautiful, even better than some of the best consulting firms, even better. But I cannot trust those numbers. So we estimate a strip ratio, we estimate the cost, we estimate the entire risk factor. We also have got, because of our relationship with the department, the different departments, we talk to them and say, does this guy have any kind of forest issues? Yeah, he does? Okay. Does this guy have any kind of license issues? Has he paid all his dues? Has he cleared his official dues and everything is all done? Okay, yeah. So we talk to them. It's just a reference check, just a credibility check. Oftentimes it will yield. He's not covered something, he's not paid something, or there is a forest overlap. Oh, big red flags. So once we have this information, then we sit with them and we tell him, look, your cost per ton, FOB barge, is X dollars. You're claiming there is 20 million tons. I'm claiming that there might be 40 or there might be 10. But the fact is, we need to prove that. So your asking price is what now? Oh, I want $4 a ton. Excellent. I'm not negotiating right now. All I'm doing with you is taking your information to understand and build it into my financial model to see if it works. If it's 7,000 GAR coal, hell yeah, I'll give you $5. Why 4? I'll tell him you're taking less from me. He should be happy too, if he's going to be my partner. But $4 a ton, okay, done. Walk away. Go back, again, build a financial model on this. Then go back to him and say, your coal is not 7,000 GAR, it is not metallurgical coal, it is not high calorie coal, it is low thermal grade. The value of your coal today is $40 on the vessel. If I give you $4, that's 10%. You see, he's figured out that mine owner, OP owner, has figured out his margins, has figured out the EBITDA. He knows how much you can make with his own costing, with his own numbers, because he's got friends who are doing mining as contractors or as joint venture offtake arrangements. So he's figured out that your margin will be about $7-8. He wants 50% of your profit margin. It's like a profit share. So he's told you up front. How do you mitigate that? How do you bring him to terms to accept? You don't talk about price. You don't talk about money. You don't talk about the profit margin. That is something that comes out of hard work. It comes out of time, dedication, due diligence, and a lot of planning and a lot of effort and timely, very precise execution. Very, very smooth, precise execution. One truck goes missing, one high wall falls into the pit. Boom, there goes your cost. You don't make $8 anymore. You will make it $2. So, fact is, we talked to him on the DNA of the site. We talked to him about, okay, look, you're claiming strip ratio 1:4, 5. I'm saying your strip ratio is higher. From experience, from your neighbor as well. We have seen his mine. We have seen his coal. We have taken sample reports from your site. And we've taken the sample reports of your neighbor's mine from the jetty. He's loading coal at the jetty, right? Yeah, we've taken his sample reports. There it is. So what you're claiming is not right. What you're claiming is much higher. The valuation doesn't increase by this. This is the true number. So we're ready to offer you this much. Let's say $1 or 50 cents. Depends on the value of the coal, depends on the actual value of the FOB, depends on the profit margin, depends on whether there is enough reserve to survive the capex, amortize the capex. It depends on whether you're building a cash machine or you're building a company, organization. If you're building an organization, then even 50 hectares is fine. 100,000 tons is good enough. But here, you want to build an organization on this, then you cannot be looking at 50, 100 hectares. You have to grow beyond that. So this guy has to understand that it takes time. They don't understand economics as you might, or valuation as you might. So you have to explain it to them, break it down with them. Get them to understand that this is the actual cost. This is where you can add value. This is where I'm going to add value. Can you bring $1.5 million for mining this coal and putting it on the vessel? No, you cannot. I'm willing to do that. What do I want in return? I want my profit. I'm here to make money as much as you are. And money is going to give you, and that working capital is going to give you a royalty. So if operations are smooth, you get money as well. For doing nothing, you sit at home. I don't want you to do anything. You sit at home. It's good for me if you sit at home. But you have to build a trust. So, in that same line of thought, right? So once we've achieved that level of understanding, we sign an MOU. Most owners will ask you for money up front. Sign an MOU, pa, you give me money, commitment fee. No, we walk away. We don't even sign an MOU. Because commitment fee is something that comes after we understand whether we want the site. Today, I don't know if I want the site. Because until I have done the due diligence, I don't know what is my cost. I've estimated. I do not know for a fact. So, building on that model, the owner has to give you 3 months to 6 months. Now, if he's the owner, he says, no, I want to do the deal right now, yeah? I don't want to do the deal waiting for 6 months for you to finish due diligence. You said there's 20 million tons, okay? To prove 20 million tons, I need to have 6 months time. You're talking 50 meters per hole, 1 hole per day, jacko equipment moving it back and forth, plus a geophysical log, plus you're talking the reporting, getting the people back and forth, the camp, everything has to move. It's a forest area, jungle area, if not. It's not going to happen in 3 months. So in 3 months, I can prove, let's say 5 million tons, 7 million tons. Are you willing to do the deal on 7 million? I will only do the deal on what you give me as time. So if you say 20 million, give me 6 months or 9 months. If you are willing to talk about 5 million, I'm willing to take 2 months. No problem. I'm ready to do the deal on 5 million if you agree. He won't. He wants his money and he wants it done quick. How do you find a solution? Again, you have to have that local partner. You have to have somebody who will talk, you have to explain it to see the value in what you're offering. It's a fight. It's a challenge. It's not as easy as, he sees the big number, so he's willing to stand by you. Moving forward. He agrees to your terms, he's agreed to your valuation, he's agreed to your timeline, he's agreed to you being in the site. You start your due diligence. Post that, if we find that there is a proven reserve, so we break down 3 months into daily activities. Every day there has to be this many depth of boreholes sunk, drilling holes sunk. If we find that it is matching our expectations, we stay. If it doesn't, we walk away. The only risk here is that the drilling cost is our risk. So we budget about $50,000 for a concession which is about 500 hectares. That's the risk capital, the sunk capital. So we assume that if we have to enter that site to reach that point of $50,000 takes a hell of a lot of effort here. We're not going to walk into the site and start drilling boreholes. We're going to take all that time to determine the DNA, the legal, the commercial, the technical, even before we have started the actual due diligence process. That is the discovery period. That's where we spend a lot of time on. Even without we meet the owner just once, maybe twice, because the owner is only for negotiation. He knows more about his site than you will ever find out. He knows more about the mistakes he has made, whether he's done a pledge, mortgaged his site, anything. You will not find out until the end. So this is our process that we follow for acquisition. Mitigating the risk of cash as well as time. If he doesn't comply, next. Keep walking away, keep coming back. And they oftentimes come back. Because for them, it is an investor who's serious enough to have told him about his site, who spent time understanding his site, who's not just simply looked at the document and say, okay, yeah, logistics is good. Okay, I offer you $2, 50% of what you ask. That's no way to do the deal. He's never going to accept your deal because he knows that you're just talking numbers. Talk to him about the DNA of his site. Talk to him about what is the actual reality of his numbers, of his code. It's 3,800 garpa. Who's going to buy this code? Oh, you've got 20 meter seams. Great. That's the only thing you've got. Let's mine that together. But who's going to buy this code? India? Maybe China? Who else? I will bring you the customer. See? Investor and customer. You're adding value. There's a lot of hidden costs that vary from each province and each area. So one experience we had was in Angana, which is north of Samarinda, which is a big area, SKN, Sinar Kumala Naga. So we did an experiment because we wanted to figure out the process of mining itself. Right? We didn't do it in the past. So we did an SPK, sort of like a joint venture. We went in there, gave some money up front to this landowner, IUPOP holder, and said, we're going to do the mining, give you royalty, and you will take care of the official payments, the land rent, dead rent, as well as the cost for the jetty. But he didn't tell us the hidden costs. We went in there, and we were paying him $12 a ton for taking care of all the official, statutory, and social and dead rent. Eventually, the cost was about $16 to $18 because there was a cost for dust, feed debut. I never heard of this. I said, where did this come from? What is feed debut? No, when you take your trucks on the Jalan hauling, it creates dust. You got to pay the villagers. I said, why didn't you tell me before? So there's a lot of these masrakat, social, hidden costs that you will discover only when you're in the system, or you try and find out by spending more time. Maintaining good relationships with your local partner and the villagers is very crucial, critical, also very important, because you need to have them on your side. Things are going to go wrong. When they go wrong, you need them with you. You need them to support you and not call you the devil, just because you're an outsider. This is the environmental due diligence is something that needs an oversight, but and this, so when we do a site acquisition, when let's say me as a CEO has to make a decision, there is a go and a no-go. All the documents have been cleared. My team says yes, sir. Numbers look good, maps look good, papers look good, legal looks good, license is done, everything done. The no-go decision is only based on one thing. Is there a forest overlap? Is there any oil and gas pipeline in this area? Is it a potential for oil and gas? Indonesia has got very strict regulations about oil and gas. So they have got a map. SKK Migas has a map which they will readily and happily give you. Well, not entirely, but yes, they will. Which maps out potential oil and gas concessions or in each and every province and in Kabupaten. And they will tell you that your concession is overlapping. It's a red zone. Final point is that as of right now, with the market prices so bad, we have seen a lot more uptake of distressed sites. A lot more concessions have come to our table, either for financial support, working capital, or just take over. So you take it over. It's a good time to take over. You might find some good opportunities at this point of time. But you have to understand that some of them will also have licensing or legal regulatory issues, which you have to screen out yourself. If you don't screen those out, the financial ones will probably walk away. Eventually they'll get money when the market goes back up. So that's our experience, 4 years. We finally got the IUPOP after a lot of struggle and hard work, a lot of networks, and Chris knows about it. He was instrumental in a lot of ways, guiding me, discussing with me, and yeah, I'm thankful to be here, share my experience with you guys. I'm happy to take questions if you have any.
Most likely you end up with having two different geological estimates of the same plot of land.
Yes.
How do you deal with that?
I use the lower one. I use the lower one. The owner is always going to claim higher than what is available because he wants a higher valuation, a higher takeover cost. See, the valuation changes when you talk about 5 million, 10 million tons plus, because there you've got a company you can build around that mine for the next 10 years, maybe 20 years. But you talk about 5 million tons and less, then your survival and your entire organization is based on something that can expire. You know, you put in 100,000 tons a month, how soon can you finish it? You probably don't want to be hanging around that mine for too long because, you know, after a while, 5 million tons doesn't do it for your customers are going to ask for more. If you're efficient, you're delivering, they're going to ask for more.
What is the big cost of hidden costs?
The social cost.
What do you mean by social cost?
So in the village that we're operating in or trying to start, our mine is not yet started. So instead of talking about CSR from a company, no, he said, you give to this school this much money this month, you give this to the... I said, instead of all of this, how about we organize something fee per ton that goes towards a small fund, a trust fund or a fixed deposit or something that you can encash that will go only towards activities that is governed by a body of
Or do you
elders.
give them cash or what?
No, we don't give them cash. We put it into an account. We put into an account that we
Who
talk...
manages the account?
Sorry?
Who manages the account?
There is a governance body that we form with them. It is like a yayasan, like a charitable trust. And they will manage the trust because 3 people could be bad, but 6 won't. There will always be 1 or 2 people in that governance body that are willing to do the right thing, want to do the right thing. So eventually, yes. So we manage that. So now it is 1,000 Indonesian rupiah per miner in our area. 54 miners came together. We put 1,000 Indonesian rupiah per ton into that. Some of them don't. Okay. Tomorrow when there's a problem, these guys are not going to support you as well. Tomorrow when you have to go back for renewal or licenses, they're going to cause you a little bit of grief, right? I mean, yeah, you didn't take care of us. Why should we talk to you now?
There is this 49%, foreign investor limit.
Yes.
In your case, I don't know, with your IUP right now,
Yeah.
Technically you can have, based on current regulations, you can only acquire up to 49% unless if you have some, you use some other, I would say, behind the counter techniques. Just wondering, if you already consider these techniques, or if you're okay with this 49%.
Unfortunately, we're not okay with it, and even more deeply, we still haven't found a solution for it. But when we talk to the owners, we try and do a financial structuring with them, where we try and see that 51% of the coal belongs to us at least. Maybe not 49% of the company, 51% of the company. But the coal is what we want. So we talk about the product. We don't talk about the corporate. So we're still trying to discover how to structure financially and legally to have ownership of the coal. Company can be 49.
So you mean this is mixed with like some sort of offtake financing?
It can be offtake, it can be working capital finance, it can be based on the 2% being the coal or the royalty or not royalty but profit sharing. There can be many different ways. Talk about dividends, coming back to you. Many different ways to structure this, but which one is most efficient? Which one is safe? We still haven't figured that out.
Is there the best way to figure out what's the hidden cost up front sooner rather than later before you start putting more money into it and then you realize that it's not economically feasible for you?
You talk to the neighbors. Talk to his neighbors. They know the hidden costs. There is a local mafia guy, for example, in our village. He likes to regulate land. So he owns a land bank. That's why he's big. But he also came to us and said, you will buy diesel from me. I will give you legal diesel, solar. I'm not going to give you anything illegal. It's straight from Pertamina to you. But you're going to buy it from me because I get paid commission. Now, arm twisting, right? It's a local hidden cost, which we didn't know. Until we went in there, we started talking, oh, but where do I buy solar from? We talked to Pertamina and they said, no, there is only one guy who supplies in that area. But why? Why not you directly? No, he does that. Okay. So you talk to his neighbors, you move backwards in the value chain, probably move forwards, try and figure out jetty owner. He will tell you a lot of information. The jetty owners are there to stay because they cater to not just these 3 concessions, but oftentimes people hauling coal from 50, 40 kilometers far away. So they've got the information. Jetty owner gives you a lot. So you talk to the neighbors, you have a discussion with the master card without raising flags, alarm bells. Investor coming in, land prices going up. See, I mean, there's always the scenario where you have a few greedy people, right? Who in the local community keep gonna go after you, keep wanting to extract more. Now, if they are strong enough to create a problem for a company individually, then you better have them as a partner. Have them in your fold somewhere. Have them in your organization somewhere. As against having them outside and going on negotiating with them as an outsider. Hey, you know what? Tell you what. You join me. I tell you. I give you a job. I give you. You need. I mean, what is it that you're complaining about? I'm giving the money. I'm monitoring where they spend it. I'm helping in the expenses. I'm also planning what is and what should be for development. I'm contributing to the orphanage, the school, independently outside of this. I'm maintaining good relations, but yet you seem to have a problem. Let's talk about it. I mean, it's hard to say, it's hard to stereotype, right? But I'm saying the overall managing an entire village takes an entire village. I mean, it's hard to explain it any other way, right? I mean, it's hard to... I
would like to highlight for the updating land status. So related to our focus right now for this session. Yeah. So mostly for the remote sensing data, it's coming from that is for the data capture, data acquisition. So mostly at the beginning, the mining application, mostly we do the ground survey. This is the old very at the beginning session. We always this is the traditional way. The very time consuming, maybe let's say 4 hectares per day if you have the team. So this is very time consuming. It's quite also very expensive. And then there's another data acquisition using the airborne. Yeah, this product can be aerial photograph, black and white, or LiDAR data. And then the third one is the remote sensing. This is from the space, from the satellite imagery. So the last one is the using drone. This is right now, maybe in the last 5 years, become a trend, become very, let's say, very sexy in this area. So in Indonesia, we found that there is some drone application, include the Hatfield, right now develop this system. So for the very high resolution imagery, right now we have this selection. Mostly this satellite imagery can be captured into 50 centimeter, so half meter. So this is right now already available. Mostly for the commercial, they sell into 5 centimeter into 1 meter. So they resampling because regulation from the government. So this satellite imagery you can capture, you can order, or you can purchase based on the data availability or based on the tasking, based on the order. Yeah. So this is some option. You can use the satellite imagery. I just give the summary. For example, the GeoEye satellite imagery or world view. This is most of the high resolution imagery that available in the Google Earth. This is using this imagery. So basically, the cost effective is about this 20 to 25 square kilometer. This is average, and then they already have the archive data starting from 1919 to the present. So for the medium resolution, there is a satellite. It's called rapid eye imagery. This is the constellation satellite. So basically, there is a 5 satellite running 24 hours. So we can capture in 1 day or 2 days. So basically, this is very cost effective because it's very cheap. But the resolution is 5 meter. So basically, if for the disaster management or if there is an oil spill or something like need very quick, very rapid acquisition, this is the good option. And then the third one is the spot imagery. This is the French satellite imagery. So the pixel resolution is quite broad, from the very high up to the medium resolution. And then the cost is about the 3 to up to 10 kilometers square. And then this is the new one, the latest satellite imagery that's already launched. Maybe it's about the last year. So this is the 50 centimeter resolution, and then the cost is mostly something like this. All this satellite imagery, this is using the optical. So this is not cloud free. This is the challenging for the Indonesian region, because cloud free cloud in the tropical area, tropical island is very challenging. So there is another option to remove that challenge. This is using the terasar, using the radar section, radar technology, like radar sensor. This can be penetrate to the cloud. So the resolution is about from the 3 to 15 centimeter. This is good for the surface for the penetrate into the water up to 5 meter. So if you have the pond or lake need to monitor, you can use this satellite, use this imagery. This is the good thing for the something like tiling monitoring. So this is very cost effective. And then this can be customized. This is anytime you can order, you can tasking, let's say for next month or next 2 months, they can order and then just quick, very quick. In 3 days, we can receive the data. So this is just for the example. This is the one of the mining concession. For the spot imagery, resolution is about the 2.5 meter. This is on 2009. And then if we compare with the GeoEye, which is has the 50 centimeter resolution, you can see the very detailed feature you can extract from this. This one for the surface in the land. Also, we can measure the sedimentation in this area or bathymetric data from this area. So this is very useful. This is another one from the plate imagery. This is very recent, just captured on December last year. So at this resolution, we can see the vehicle, the coal mining vehicle around here. And this is for the terasar data, for the rapid for the radar data. So this is one of our monitoring area. This is to monitor the tiling. This is captured on 2007 and 2008. And then this is the much better, the new high resolution for the radar sat. From the terasar, we can see the difference. So basically, we can see the surface deformation about the tiling, about the movement of the tiling from this application. Yeah. Next one is the utility of the satellite radar imagery. From radar, we can derive digital elevation model, the contour data. So from the left and right imagery, we can generate the elevation model. This is very cost effective for the remote area, mostly for the mountainous, because the area is not cloud free, mostly in the Papua or in Borneo. So we can derive this imagery maybe in 5 days. So very effective if we compare using the ground survey. The accuracy is about the 5 meter for the horizontal and 3 meter for the vertical. So this is maybe a good option for the exploration phase or before the production, before the production session task. This one is just example of how we can utilize the satellite imagery for land monitoring. So in this case, we can monitor from year to year. So we can compare it's about in 10 years how the mining activity can change the lane, and then after that we can monitor the reclamation phase, how the vegetation is recovered. Okay, next one is the airborne imagery. I would like to highlight which one is the technology is suitable for your application. So if there is the I think the air photo and LiDAR is very common right now for the mining sector. But if we compare with drone, you can compare the cost in here. Using drone, you can very cost effective. But drone has the limitation because the one flight is about, it will cover about the 1 hectare, 1 kilometer square or 100 hectare. The pixel resolution can be 3 centimeter up to 7 centimeters, so very high, good quality. So the good thing, the drone is very quick. In 10 hours, you can produce after one flight. We can produce and deliver the product. So you can verify, you can get the mosaic imagery and the surface imagery, DEM imagery. So that is the very advantage if using the drone. So the negative one from the drone right now in Indonesia regulation, this is still gray area because the Indonesian government is not yet ready for which is the drone is part of the air photo or that's fine. But if in Malaysia the drone below the 3 kilogram, that's fine. But more than 3 kilogram weight, that has to be permit, has to be get the license from the government. So in Indonesia, this is still gray area. But in North America, this is not available, not for the resale or commercial. But if you have drone, you can take a drone in your area, in your land. But you cannot take another land without get permission. So this is still debatable right now. But in Indonesia, some company has already approached the government. It's still we can use the drone as the aerial imagery, aerial photo permit. So this is the latest, maybe the latest update of the drone policy in Indonesia. This is our demo of drone. We can see the drone result. We can see the mine facility or calculate the volume or stockpile. It's very quick. Daily you can use it, this drone. This is if we compare it for the encouragement or for the land status, updating land status. This is very quick. In this area, one flight, it's cover a radius in 3 kilometers from the base station. We can use this one. So in forestry application, we derive this information to identify the species, tree species, or carbon measurement. So a lot of opportunity by using drone. Because right now, there is not yet available for commercially available for the satellite imagery if we compare using drone. And then the next slide is about the GIS. I would like to move from the remote sensing as the data capture, and then right now is the GIS. Maybe you're already familiar with the GIS itself. This is about the information system to analyze, to capture, to display information. So with the GIS, a lot of things we can do. Yeah. After the Google Earth, they release, the GIS become the very public application that's very popular. So especially specific for the land management system, GIS can combine between the spatial and non-spatial information. We developed this one project for the land management system, and then this is very quite effective for the in mining sector. So some feature we can manage, we can inventory the land ownership in mining, infrastructure, we can document it, all the land acquisition document, make a link with the map, and then another supporting data. So this is the some feature we can use. Okay. This is inside of the one example of the land management system. Basically, in the mining sector, all the data related to the land management is coming from this department, also from outside, from the Pemda, or in district level there is a BPN or Bapeda. And then the type of the data, mostly it's like this. This is interconnected between the mine plan, land use, environment, and then combined in the one system. This option we developed using standalone and also using the cloud system. And then we can use for the customized application for the land dispute resolution or land acquisition monitoring or for the land term management planning. So this is one of the example. This is some mining company. So they would like to see the system is how much who is the proposal for the land acquisition. This is for the pit, some pit or some mine facility. This is one example. The how much parcel, we can see which one is the very expensive and then less expensive, amount the rupiah, value, and who is the group who is the owner of the group in this area. So this is very customizing. You can customize this process. Another one is this is for the cloud system. We just launched the web-based system. It's called the landmonitoring.com. So basically, this data, this application can customize based on your need. From the satellite imagery, we can customize. This is the behind the flow chart from the behind the system. So we identify what is your need, and then we identify, okay, this is the input data, satellite imagery, and then we run the imagery analysis based on your need, and then we publish the data based on your need. It can be interactive map or using the map services by online through your GIS system, or we can provide the risk profile alert based on your need. So this is just launched, and then hope it can be useful for mining sector or another application. Okay, in summarize, I would like to highlight right now a lot of option for the remote sensing data for the mining. So a lot of option and relatively quick and then cost effective. So depend on your need, depend on your application. There is available. You can use it this data. And then for the system itself, the GIS system can integrate the tracking analysis, tracking the land data. There's an option for the base standalone application or the cloud system. So I think that's all the summary of my quick presentation. And then thank you.
Terima kasih, selamat datang, and we'll start off with Bapak.
Well, good evening, and thank you, Tracy, and it's very nice to be here. It's an honor to be part of these discussions. And my name is Darmawan Prasodjo, or people call me Darmo. And please call me Darmo, tapi jangan dibalik ya. So I spent 20 years of my life in the US. I just came back only a year ago. And all of a sudden I've been invited by the chief of the party of PDI Perjuangan to to be part of the party, and right now it's been the whole year I've been campaigning in Central Java. It's been a very tough campaign, and usually I deal with Wangi Piro. Maybe if you hear, you understand the phrase, and today is kind of a break here that we going to discuss some kind of policy and some kind of philosophy. We uphold three philosophy or three sakti. First is the sovereignty of the politics, and second is the independence of economy, and third is to uphold the identity and characters of the culture, of our ancient culture, three sakti. And of course, if PDI Perjuangan is going to take over the government, in which I'm actually the energy team of the Pak Jokowi, and we're going to uphold this philosophy, this ideology. This ideology is going to be what we think what the nations ought to be, and what the nations can be, and the nation will be. So, our first president, Sukarno, conveyed that a great nation is a nation that always remembers history. Why? Because by reflecting the history, there is pride. And from pride, there is a character of courage. And that's going to be the theme, how we come up with energy strategy in oil and gas and also mining industry. That character. If we look at our oil and gas production today, roughly 850,000 barrels of oil per day. 20% of that production is coming from Pertamina, our national oil company. If we compare to Malaysia, roughly 60-70% of the oil production in Malaysia is coming from Petronas. What's happening? Let's analyze the characters of the oil and gas strategy between Indonesia and Malaysia. In Malaysia, the goal of oil and gas management is the goal of oil and gas management is how Malaysian can add values to Malaysian petroleum resources by developing domestic petroleum industries. While if we look at the strategy of oil and gas in Indonesia, the goal is one thing, how to optimize revenue pajak from oil and gas industry. Optimize revenue. That's the goal. If we look at the strategy of Malaysia, it seems they copycat the Trisakti of Golkar, independency, how you can manage resources by developing industry, domestic industry. While the Indonesian characteristic of oil and gas strategy is more like perspective of a character of independence. So if we take over this government, character back, the character of courage, we want to build capacity. When I say something like this, many international oil companies and mining companies say, oh my God, this guy is like a Biko Savas. But let me tell you one. Pasal 33. Mineral resources shall be controlled by the state and shall be used to the greatest benefit of the people. How can we implement this? By using the philosophy that comes out from yes, we need to build our domestic capacity. We need to build domestic capacity. We build this through investment, through cooperation. In 2003, there was a finding of a big oil field in Malaysia. call the PK field in deep water offshore, 100 miles of southern territory. It's a very complex technology. Malaysia, what they did is they invited came down there, put money in investment. And then the technical assistance is coming from techniques, the deep water offshore and south. The contract is like this. All the design has to be done in Malaysia. So all those deep water offshore expert came down to Malaysia and designed the infrastructure right there, accompanied by young Malaysian engineers. And then the development of their infrastructure also built right there in Malaysia. And why Murphy Oil willing to do it? Why Technip is willing to do it? Because Malaysian government understands that any investment needs to be returned. The rate of return has to be good, and the risk has to be well calibrated. And today, Malaysia is among the power of deep water technology right there because of international cooperation. The same thing here. What is fiscal policy? Once I'm the advisor of the BKF, Badan Kebijakan Fiscal Policy Agency. While during the consultation, I asked him, "Sir, what is your spirit in designing fiscal policy?" Knowing I'm coming from PDI Perjuangan, he said, like, nationalism. I said, "Those is good." I said, "Merdeka. If you use the money from the state budget, you can use that money any way you want. Nationalism is good. We need foreign investments. The spirit of designing fiscal policy is fairness." And I asked him, "What is fiscal policy?" They start ranking. They don't even know what is fiscal policy. Fiscal policy governing three things. First, if somebody invests, the investment need to be returned. How costs can be recouped. In any investment, there is risk. You need to understand that we need to share the risk, how risk can be shared between the investors and also the government. And if there is profit, the profit needs to be split. We understand that in investment, there has to be some profit. There's also to be governing in mining industry. We understand that mining value chain is very long. 20% of the value of the upstream and 80% is on the downstream. We understand we want to keep the value chain in Indonesia as long as possible, so the value added is going to be stay in the country. We want to be the multiplier effect of the industry is going to be much greater, meaning we need to take care of the backward linkage and the forward linkage. But in order to do so, we need to understand how to design environment that is conducive for investment. Otherwise, let's say, if the rate of return is only 3% and the cost of capital is 13%, people is going to prefer to put their money out instead of investing in the industry. Yes, PDI Perjuangan Party want to build domestic capacity. We want to keep the value chains as much as possible in the country. We want to create employment. But we also understand in order to do so, we need to understand that investment has to flow. You know, the consumption of oil and gas in Indonesia is 2.3 million barrel of oil equivalent per day. The consumption. The production of oil and gas is 2.3 million barrel of equivalent per day. Production and consumption is exactly the same. Why the energy trade is negative? We know gas is cheap energy. The cost is roughly only $7 per million British thermal unit. Oil is a very expensive energy. $23 per million British thermal unit. So what's happening is this. Our oil and gas production is dominated by gas. But we export most of that gas. And then there is demand of energy because our gas is being exported because of lacking infrastructure. And we fulfill that additional demand by importing oil, which is expensive energy. So we export our cheap energy and we import expensive energy from those oil and gas producers. The result is our energy trade is becoming negative. Why? Because there is no natural gas infrastructure. And for the last 8 years, there is no infrastructure of natural gas that has been built. People wondering why. The reason is this. I talked to the downstream regulating authority, BPH Migas. During the presentation, one of the person from the agency presented. We've been doing very well. We are able to reduce the toll fee transporting gas so that the rate of return of building infrastructure is only 5%. The rate of return of building natural gas infrastructure is only 5%. While trading gas is going to make a lot of money. So everybody doesn't want to build infrastructure. They want to trade gas. Because that's where the money is going to be most on the trade. What's happening is this. You don't understand. In order to build infrastructure, first, they need to design an environment conducive for investment. One way to do it is to make sure the rate of return is going to be handsome and all the investment is going to be. These are the things that we can do. Building domestic capacity, building infrastructure. Two options. First, we're going to use our state budget that we don't have. We're going to invite investment. We're going to do so we're going to do some really fiscal policy that will make sure that the industry is going to grow. Sure, right now is the hot building smelter. You understand that? And many in those areas, even power is not available. We understand that smelter industry is very intensive in energy use. We need to fix it. We need to pick the low-hanging fruits first. To fix that with the low risk, with the high rate of return. We're going to provide tax incentive. That's what it takes to make sure the investment is going to be. Yes, rhetoric is sometimes scared that we want to build national capacity. We want to make sure that the downstream industry is going to be well built here. The backward linkage and the forward linkage is going to be right there. The multiplier effect is going to be very well defined. We're talking about job creations. We're talking about expediting growth. We're talking about eradicating poverty. And we're talking about strengthening the nation. So I assure you, that's the new form of nationalism. It's actually going to lead to help. To stay longer here, cooperate, to collaborate, to assist us, to help us to do it. Thank you so much.
So ladies and gentlemen, thank you Tracy. The land-based business It means we need to make a value added of our land product. The second one is we'd like to increase the involvement of the national and local participation. And the last one is, of course, the national resources security. Based on this mission, we have some framework in this mining industry. Based on this perspective, we try to develop the framework that also attract the investor, we hope. The next slide. Our legislation and the policy framework, we try to ensure that all of the references, regulation, law, or the contract is first referred to our constitution. Pak Darmo already mentioned about the Article 33. It's about the optimization of our natural resources. Now, there's a different view. The existing investor or the investor that just willing to invest in Indonesia. There's quite a different standing at the moment. At the moment, our law, it's make the contract is under the law and the regulation, like you see in all the constitution, law, regulation, and contract. Before, Indonesia is very famous because having a type of contract, it's a type of the foreign direct investment, call it contract of works. But somehow contract of works after operate maybe after 30 years creates some problems. So our policy framework, we move on to the other slide. We try to shape the law by issuing the law number 4/2009 for the mining industry. This law covers all of the 6 aspects that mostly in all the region, Australia, United States, and all the country that have a mining industry. All of the aspects. First is the role of the state. The second one, this try to make some regulation in the access to resources. The third one is the security of tenure. The fourth one is commercial operating freedom. 5, the social license to operate. And the 6, the fiscal impose. All of the 6 aspects, we try our best in our legislation to make the industrial peace for the existing investor, but also we should have some attractive points for the other foreign investor to pour in some money to Indonesia. But after almost 5 years this law enacted, there's some problem. We have to frankly tell you this. So you can differentiate between the existing investment, especially for the Canada investment, and the other investment that will come to Indonesia. Okay, the next slide. Yeah. In the first aspect, the role of the state and the access to resources, we adopt and refer some of the common law English-speaking countries. We adopt the layering control for the state, and some adopting the Anglo-Saxon mining law. It's to improve the royalty calculation, and some of the adoption is from the French-speaking countries mining law. All of these reference, we have still some cases, or maybe I should say challenges. Just like the role of the state, sometimes we have some misunderstanding between the state as the owner and the regulator, but also as a player. We have also state-owned enterprise in the mining industry, like PT Timah, PT Antam, and PT Batubara, Bukit Asam. Sometimes this will create a problem. For instance, how come we are at 20% nickel production, but we cannot become the price reference for the nickel exports. And the other one is the access to resources often restricted for the farm ins and farm out. We are different than the Australian legislation framework. In Australia, the investor, it's easy to farm in and to farm out. And this will create the enthusiasm in the capital market industry. But not in Indonesia. Why? Because the farm in and farm out, we have some bad experience in oil and gas sector. So in this sector now, the farm in and farm out, first, it's some tax imposed. And the other one, in such an exploration period, you cannot transfer the interest because we try to make the one that invests in Indonesia is the real investor, not the broker, not only the trader, the licensed trader. This is, we try to minimize the business entity that already been given a concession, they are not developing, and then sold it to another business entity, they gain profit, and we are suffer from the loss of the production opportunity. That's why some might say we are not as flexible like Australia. We are not as flexible like in the Vietnam. Yes, but that's the rationale why we put that standing in our legislation. Next one. And also the security of tenure. For the new investment that come to Indonesia, it's already been clear in our law, the tenure of the production and exploration. We also have some reference from the Chilean Organic Constitution mining law. For the exploration period in Chile, it's a 4 years exploration period. But for the exploitation period, there's has no limit. In our law, the law number 4/2009, we try to limit the exploitation period. If I'm not mistaken, 30 years or 20 years. 20 years. Why? Because we also doesn't want the if the business entity is invest in a good manner, conducting the business in the effective manner and make this country prosper, it's okay to continue the tenure. But what about the business entity that makes some bad pollutions, make some social crisis in the operating area? We don't want to have that kind of investor. That's why we limit this tenure. But also this tenure makes some confusion and also makes some dispute among the existing investors. But I'm gladly to tell you, this afternoon, Pak Sukhyar as a Director General will try to make all of these security issues wiped out. It means that the new investor that come to Indonesia will have exactly clear, crystal clear, the security of this tenure. Not like the existing investor in here that still have a confusion, try to push down our government to go to the international arbitrage. We try to avoid that kind of things. We like to promote the industrial peace for the existing investor, but also still give some attractive return for the new investor. This law also covers the commercial freedom. It means that, like in Australia, in Philippines also, if the company is a foreign investor investing in the mining concession, they can also hire the contractors from their origin country to develop and operate in their premises. It's okay to do that. But not in Indonesia. In Indonesia, there's some restriction on foreign contractor. Even the foreign investor already have the concession and already says the premises. Why? Because this law, we try to make the multiplier effect as a national and also for the working area society. We try to make the involvement of the our national businessmen join with the foreign investor to gain the multiplier effects. And the other one is the limited FX exposure management opportunities. Yeah, maybe you may hear we try to promote our local bank. So we encourage, no sanction, but we encourage that the foreign investor here that conduct the operation businesses using the local bank. And also the other issues that maybe you should aware that should not become a misperception. The inflexibility in country ownership. Let's say one of the big company in Canada own this concession in Java and make another concession in Sumatra. They try to put it as a one consolidation project. Because our fiscal tax regime, we now impose the ring fencing of the mining concession. Why? Because we also have a bad experience. If we don't ring fencing the projects, the exploration costs from the concession one could dilute the income from the concession B that already been exploited, and the dilution of the income from the exploitation concession, it means less income. The less income means less tax payment. The less tax payment and royalty means the government income is lesser. That's why the ring fencing project for the mining concessions, and this is also applied for the oil and gas concessions, it just by the Ministry of Finance. At the moment, we use that kind of scheme. Also the Ministry of Decree number 24, this is to amplify. The first point is the involvement of the national contractors to become the partner for the foreign investor in the mining industry. Okay, next. This law also covers the social license to operate. This is the one that we never have before in the law in the year of 67. We also have the reference based on the New Mexico Mining Act 93. This is also the improvement of the previous law, that in the New Mexico Mining Act 93, they more advanced than us. In that act, they mandate some of the reclamation bonds, it's written in the articles. In our law, it's not like that one. The problem in the social license in Indonesia, just like sometimes there's a different perception between which one activities that violate the environment standards between the industry and the local government. This kind of dispute, somehow we try to working on it, but so far at the moment there's no big cases on this issue. The last one? The last one is the fiscal impose. This law still have some room of flexibility in the fiscal regime. We try to make these legislations is only arrange the coordination between the legislative and the government, not to intervene the negotiation commercial terms between the government and the investor. So in the fiscal impose, yes, we still have some cases here, but Tracy, I would say, please, nothing to worry. Even if you hear and you read in the media, there's some dispute over the tax calculation from the tax office versus the corruption eradication body, and should be no worries. As long as the investor follow the rules and become the taxpayer in Indonesia, we try to make the investor in Indonesia is only bear the risk of the business operation. They should not bear the risk of the political things or the country risk things. This is how we can participate. Next one. You also hear the export ban. Anybody hear about the export mineral ban in Indonesia? Did you aware of about that? The export ban, in some cases, maybe yes, for the existing mining investor and company here, they suffer. Maybe they are struggling. They now in the phase of restructuring. But for the new investor, this export ban also initiate new opportunities. Next slide, please. At the current standing, because of the export ban, the government tried to control the company with his fiscal control, and the company also tried to struggle restructuring and maybe not paying the dividend and royalty and slow down operation. But this is for the existing investor, and all of this standing, I'm very glad today hearing also from Pak Sukhyar, this will be resolved sooner, maybe less than 1 week. Right? Next slide. Yeah, this is the regulation under the law that refer to the export ban. I think you all already know. And for the existing company that's already in here, we should share the pain, enjoy, this is the phase. Because in our legislation, there's still some room and space for the industry and the government to reach out some mutual understanding. So the industry still get the industrial piece, the government also achieve their goal as for the national security, increases the value added and also the income for the country. Next slide. And for the new investor, especially the Canadian investor in the mining, at the moment our standing is, I just recall from the Pak Sukhyar, there we still have a moratorium mining concession. It means that until now we still cannot issue any new concession until all the 10,000 IUP that's still in dispute already completed, clean and clear. So there's a moratorium until now, and we cannot predict, but we hope before the October 2014, after the Pak Darmawan party become the administration of the Indonesia, we try to complete clean and clear by the day. That's the limitation. But the opportunity is the value-added supply chain. It means that we are now trying to attract more investors that have a scope of businesses in processing and refining mineral products. It means from the ore to become the 100% or certain percentage of the metal itself. The other opportunity is also we are trying to create a market for the less 100% metal refined product. Some of the reference or some of the information that we receive, not all the ore that can be refined 100%, it's also give economic benefit for the country. The ore that refined or reprocessed, not until 100% as the metal, as for the metal exchange in London, still is a viable business, just like the 70% of the bauxite could be used for another car manufacturing industry. Things like that, then that kind of company that we are trying to invite to bridging this gap between the 2014-2017 until all the smelter and the value-added supply chain already been developed. And the last one is that we try also our best to make the attractive fiscal incentive, but not like the refinery in oil and gas. We already know that develop a refinery, oil refinery in Indonesia is very difficult. Why? Because our supply is not enough. I think all the engineers in Indonesia know that we need the refinery, but making a good refinery here is also linked to the global politics. How come the country that we import the refined product want to give their raw material to our refinery? That's the other thing that we have to solve. But we try to make the attractive fiscal, not like the investor in oil refinery. They want the 30 years tax holiday. It's almost impossible. If we give this incentive 30 years, the other industry will ask the same thing. The metal industry will ask the same thing. The fishery industry will ask the same thing. What's the protection of the mining and oil and gas? Why they have a leg specialist, we don't. So the attractive fiscal policy we try to give, to offer the new investor so they can fill the gap, bridging the gap, and also to prosper together. I think for me that's all. Thank you.
I'm very pleased to welcome our fourth panelist tonight. My apologies, we have not had a chance to berkenalan yet to get to know each other, but it's Pak Sukhyar from the Director General of Mineral and Coal at the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources. So, selamat datang, Papa, and pleased to have you here. My name is Tracy Reynolds. I'm from the Embassy of Canada, where I'm the Senior Trade Commissioner. So pleased to have you here tonight, and perhaps we could ask you to say a few words to the people in attendance to talk a bit about the ministry and anything that perhaps might be of interest to the people here this evening.
Yes, I don't know how to say this in this meeting. In fact, I would like to hear from the audience what they going to ask me about mining this time. In fact, my portion has been taken by Pak Robi, so I just want to hear from the audience if any question about the implementation of the mining law this time, because the heavy task we have to solve this time about the IUP management. Because we have 10,900 IUPs, and as mentioned by Pak Bodi, that this is a big duty because 50% of them is not clear and not clean. So we have to manage this. We have to clean. We have to clear all of this, and perhaps most of them have to be eliminated. This is our main job, main task, a heavy task. And the second about the renegotiation of mining contract. But in fact, the term renegotiation is not correct. According to the law, contract of work and coal agreement holder must adjust the terms with the law. No negotiation, so must adjust. What is the terms that need to be adjusted? One is about the working area, the second about the state revenue, the third is for divestment, and fourth about the local content that the mining contract must use most local contents, and the last ones about the continuation of the mining operation. So the 6 issues that we have to raise, and then we have to discuss with the mining contracts, mining coal contractors and coal equipment holders. Those are very difficult, of course, because now we have to solve the problems with 119 equal contracts, 34 about for contract works, and the rest for contract agreement holders. So that things that we have to finish very soon. I don't know. In fact, I need to ask Pak Bobi as well as the legislator, because currently some statement raised by government that the government will not take any strategic issues until the next cabinet. The question whether negotiation is strategic issues or not. So if that's the case, that's a problem, because the law clearly said that adjustment of the contract terms should be completed 1 year after the issuance of the mining law. So this is now the 6th year after the issuance of the mining law itself. I think that's all what I want to say. So I want to listen the questions or comments from the audience. Thank you. Tracy.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I will not take my speech long this time, because I would like to have longer time for you to ask a question and answer with us. But I just want to highlight a few things about, I'm coming from the environmental practitioners. I'm a consultant. Hatfield Indonesia has run its business since 1990 in Indonesia. We've done a lot of environmental and social work for mining, for oil and gas throughout Indonesia. So we know well how the environmental policy, and social policy, social license, and issues on that areas happen in the field, and how it's going to be in the next future. Today, in the morning since afternoon, I was in the discussions with another clients. We discussed about 3 things: environmental, and then social, and land acquisition. The topic was very interesting, but the highlight is that we try to compare Indonesian regulation with international standard about environmental, and then social, and land acquisition. The highlight there is that maybe we can discuss it tonight, is that that our AMDAL, which is the most important tools used by the government to manage and monitor the environmental issues in Indonesia, if we compare with international standards such as IFC performance standard or World Bank ESS guidelines, in terms of the completeness of the regulations, our regulation is quite good. I mean, it covers quite comprehensive aspect of environmental, social, how we should include public in the process of environmental impact assessment. But in reality, there are so many variations in terms of the quality of the AMDAL. Means is that the AMDAL document can vary from very poor quality and then very good quality. Although it follows the same regulation, it follows the same process, and then at the end it also got approved by the government. So this is one question for the next government of Indonesia, how we will be able to make sure that the AMDAL process following the Indonesian regulations will be
very close to the international standard. Because what happened if that the AMDAL using the Indonesian quality is still in the low quality, it doesn't recognize or doesn't acknowledge by the investor, by the IFC as institutional funding agencies, for example. So the AMDAL need to be upgraded into the what they call bankable AMDAL or bankable Asia. It means it could be that AMDAL should be repeated again to meet the international standard. I'm sure that this is not an ideal way to do the AMDAL twice. One following the Indonesian regulation and the second one following the international regulation. So if we follow the Indonesian standard actually and follow the process and then use our best knowledge to interpret and do good study, I'm sure that the AMDAL quality following the Indonesian regulation will be in a much better situation. So that's something that we can discuss tonight. And then the other one is on the land acquisition issues and also on the social issues. Land acquisition will also become a very critical aspect for the sustainable of the business, including mining and oil and gas and other sectors. So how the mining company deal with the land, how the mining company deal with the process of land acquisition is very critical, and everybody need to have a very good system and very comprehensive ways approaching the local community to anticipate any problems at the end or in the operation stage. So that's what I maybe will be interested to discuss tonight from what I discussed during today workshop with one of our clients. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much to all our panelists. It's been a very interesting series of presentations, but I think we've come to the point in the evening that is perhaps of even greater interest to everyone, is to the question and answer period. And I know that I have several questions myself, but I think what we'll do is we will ask the audience if they have any questions. So perhaps who has the first question? Mr. Bill Sullivan. So.
Bill Sullivan, Christian Teo, Boylan Partners. My question is for you, Pardama. You indicated that the PDI-P understands the importance of infrastructure and recognises that the current infrastructure in Indonesia is inadequate for the needs of smelter construction. Does that mean that a PDI-P-led government will not insist on full domestic processing and refining until such time as the infrastructure of Indonesia is adequate? Does that therefore mean that after October of this year, a PDI-P government will not enforce the export ban? Because by definition, the infrastructure is certainly not going to be adequate by October of this year.
And for 20 years, for the last 40 years, I have never been voted. The first time I voted, I voted and I voted. So it's been rough. I've been in politics only for the last 1 year, and suddenly I'm becoming my parliament member and also part of the party. And the point is this: we want domestic capacity to be built. We want the value change, the downstream, the upstream and the downstream is going to be built. We want the multiplier effect that has been mentioned to be optimized. We want to create jobs. We want to eradicate poverty. We want to accelerate growth. And we understand that the upstream is only 20-30% of the total value, while the downstream is 70, even 80% of the value. We want to get that done as quickly as possible. But also we understand that investment is not going to take place unless the investment is a good investment. And Pak Bobi mentioned that there is ring fencing, so that the risk of exploration is going to be borne by the contractor. That's why we want to optimize the revenue from mining industry. You know, the government should also give signal that we're willing to share the risk. In 1981, in British, they realized that the reserve of oil and gas is so depleting very quickly. While the development is running very fast, there is no new finding. You know what they did? They relaxed the ring fencing, and there was exploration frenzy. Because they can mitigate the risk doing exploration here, right here. One exploration, there is a commercial finding that can mitigate the risk from the exploration from the other side that failed. Because of the exploration frenzy, the proof reserve is going up. And this is a way to transform resources to become reserve, and from reserve to become production by investment. And the investor is taking the risk. And in order to do that, we understand that the rate of return has to be reasonable, has to be decent. And I can assure you right now, I'm not an expert in mining, I'm an expert in oil and gas. I'm an expert in energy policy, but not in mining. I can assure you that we are going to give our best to make sure that the downstream industry is going to be built in any way we could. First, not every single investment is the same. Some investment, the risk is very low, and the rate of return is going to be very high. That's the first kind of investment that everybody wants to invest. So that kind of situations, we can tax, we can put royalty, and the investments will flow. And the second one is the rate of return is really marginal and the risk is little bit high. And I think we can also adjust the royalty to make sure that the investment is going to be still a good investment. And the third one is going to be a very high risk. Infrastructure is not bad. And maybe the economics is not even, doesn't make sense. And this kind of investment might require special treatment. Today, we need to learn more what we can do with this kind of investment. Maybe a tax incentive, maybe some other way that going to accelerate potential investment in the future in any way we could. And that's our point of view, how we're going to make this country a great country. Not by isolating ourselves, but by opening our arms. Yeah, we need cooperation. We need collaboration. And we understand that investment is very important to expedite growth. I think that's what I can convey to you. I cannot do more than this unless I really study, what's the race, what's really the rate of return, what kind of contract that we can adjust to make sure that investment is going to take place. Thank you so much, Peter.
Yeah, maybe I'd like to add some more. The current infrastructure in the smelting industry, it's in 2017. Before the October 2014, we'd like to ensure that the roadmap in our country will have the smelter in 2017 should be in place. What does it mean? we should have also a roadmap in the smelting industry in 2017. We cannot have a groundbreaking smelter in 2017 without preparing the industry, without create the demand, without having the business participation or the involvement of our local market. So that's the things that we try to put it together. Maybe it's more executive works before the October 2014, because if we don't have the roadmap in this mining industry or the downstream process in the mining industry, what's our guarantee in 2017? This smelter, we still have it. We already have it. I cannot guarantee if the administration, the new administration taking places, will have the same perspective. Perspective maybe yes. They have a different way to execute this kind of plan. So to ensure that this law enacted completely and also ensure that value-added process change already in basis, that's why maybe Pak Sukhyar will try to give some efforts how to put these puzzles together. We have the creating the demand for the smelting products, the refined product. We also have some supporting, not only the money, maybe the human resources, and also some the local participation. All of this puzzle, we try to solve it before the new administration coming. Why? There's also no guarantee if we have this kind of roadmap. Even we already have the roadmap, even we have the all of the dispute, the renegotiation or adjusting the contract already in place, we are not ensured whether this roadmap will be productive or not. That's why we are trying to push the mining downstream roadmap before 2014, so the administration maybe could modify or adjust, not very radically. Why? Because that's why I always say in the first place, we try to make the industrial piece for the existing investor and also to keep Indonesia looks attractive for the new investment in this sector. Thank you.
If you ask about infrastructure, yes, we admit that there is a lack of infrastructure, production, energy. But I can say, even so, we Indonesian can say that this year, this time is the awakening of mineral industry of Indonesia. I can say that we have abundant resources, we have abundant sort of minerals, but maybe we not rich, because if you talk about richness, we have to divide the benefit of minerals into 240 billion of people. If you look at the macroeconomy, how much contribution of mineral and gold to the country? As last year, we created the contribution from mineral and gold about the 14 billion US dollars state revenue. 14 billion US dollars. 85% is coming from gold. Only 15% from metal minerals. So if you want to increase contribution of minerals, yes, we have to increase the value added. Yes. One thing that people may not realize that we're not seeing the value added only from economical point of view, but intangible knowledge that we created from that. So if we enforce this, because this nation need to be enforced for certain policy. If you look at back to the initiation of contract works, in the contract of works, it says clearly that the contract of work must also refine the product as long as it is economical. It means that the idea of value added has started a long time ago, but we don't control very good. But after we issue the mining law number 4, yes, you must refine the product. You must refine the mining product, not only for contract of works but also for IUP. I'm going to comment about the infrastructure. There's a problem for electricity, energy for smelters, but now there are many energy supply companies that can join the investor. So it means to decrease the burden of the smelter investors, because they can reduce the capital expenditures, because capex will be borne by energy supplier. So we can meet both the smelter investors and energy suppliers, not only state-owned electricity company, but also private company that can supply energy to the smelter investors. That's my comment, Pak.
Certainly that the economics of the investment is going to shift depending on the cost of the electricity that required, that going to be supplied for that. And we totally understand that if the electricity is coming from coal, it's roughly 5-6 cents per kilowatt hour. It's actually the cheapest from natural gas is roughly 6 until 7 cents per kilowatt hour. The cost of production, and is coming from solar, from diesel, then it's going to be 20 or 30 cents per kilowatt hour. And renewable energy is not going to be very competitive. Like solar is roughly 20 cents per kilowatt hour, and it's not going to be, it's not going to sustain for 24 hours because that needs some storage and that. So this is going to be a challenge by itself. We understand smelter because we require plenty of energy, and the energy is not going to be available in the area. So I believe we need to group the smelter investment in different categories: good returns, medium returns, and no return. And we're going to treat this differently in such a way. Of course, we're going to pick the low-hanging fruits, the high return, low risk, that's going to go by itself, and then the medium might need special treatment, and then the lowest one might need really very serious incentive to make it possible. Thank you.
Actually, Malcolm, perhaps I could add something from the Canadian government perspective. The government of Canada is actually supporting a program providing development assistance for polytechnical institutes in Indonesia, because we recognize that there has been a shortage of technical skills, and so we've been working with the government of Indonesia on developing the polytechnical institutes, and we have a project that's moving forward. So and these will be not just in Java, but across Indonesia, where we'll be working with some of the polytechnics. An example will be in Makassar, and that's important to us because we have Vale Canada, who is based out of Makassar, and so they need young, educated people to come and work at their facility and their mine. So, thank you very much. Merci for your question.
About domestic market, what do you think about it? Because we know that in oil and gas, we have a regulation that PSG should fulfill 25% of DMO. But maybe if I'm not mistaken, our Vice Minister, Susila, want to make bigger DMO. It will be 30 or maybe 50% of DMO. But in the other side, we don't have refinery, good infrastructure and so on. How come we increase DMO, but we have very big lack of infrastructure?
It's a strategic commodity, so the DMO is the buffer for the local demand. And the one that the Deputy Minister like to increase, maybe in the gas, the domestic market obligation. But in the mining sector, there's no rule for that yet. Why? If we put in the legislation the domestic market obligation for the whole refined product, we don't have to market here. So who want to invest in the smelting industry? So there's a good example from Pak Faisal Basri this afternoon. We should try to formalize the domestic market obligation based on the demand management. So if we have in the CPO sector, if the demand is in certain volume, the domestic market obligation of the production should be in certain percentage. Let's say for the nickel. Yes, China starting the nickel industry in 2000, I recall from the Sukhyar, but now they are a big player now because they already developed the industry and the market in the local. But now, if we want to, the whole nickel investor in Indonesia, the foreign one, make the refined product of the whole nickel and cannot export it, who want to come to invest? So the domestic market obligation in the mining sector is still in I'm not saying we don't want to impose in a certain percentage, but the reference of the economic scale is it's vary from one type to the other type. The bauxite maybe is different from the nickel. Nickel may be different from the iron. Maybe the iron is different from the ferro or the mangan and so on and so on. So the domestic market obligation in the mining, as long as you already 100% refine this product, you still can be exported. Just like the smelter product in the East Java for the Freeport. Yes, they refine the condensate, but they still cannot they still can export it. Why? Because there's no demand in Indonesia. So the domestic market obligation in the mining industry, it's still quote unquote, it's still flexible, and that's the should be compromised between the government and the industry. Because if the government is put the DMO is too high, no investment will come. But if it's try to creating the market, as long as the value-added process is already in place, the multiplier effect is in progress, I think the DMO could be in short of in the flexible manners.
I just want to add a bit that the domestic market obligation in the law of 2001, the oil and gas. It was in the original is like up to 20%, and then there is a Mahkamah Konstitusi, and then there was and then changed to at least 20%, at least 20%. And then just keep in mind that 20% for the first 5 years, is exactly the same as the international oil price. So it's exactly the same. So we still have to pay for that. If it's a profit oil. If it's a profit oil, is part of the contractor's share that we have to pay exactly the same international oil price. And then after 5 years, then it's going to be at the discounted price, only 80% of the international oil price. You know why? For the first 5 years, the government led the contractor to recoup the cost. So the rate of return is going to be much better, and the investment is going to be very interesting. And I think the rest has been very well explained. Thank you so much.
My question is about a little island in southeast Sulawesi called Buton. And Buton and Tara is a reasonably new province. And they, as up to date, they haven't issued any IUPs, even though they have a building, big new blue building with 25 people in it, because there's been a moratorium on since the time that they established themselves as a new province. Why, with new provinces, why should there be an embargo on them issuing exploration licenses?
Perhaps, Sukhyar, we could ask you to answer now.
I think Pak Bobby already explained in the slides that this is time we still in the phase of moratorium to issue new IUP, because we need to clean and to clear the dispute IUP. So there are about 5,000 IUPs not clear and clear. So we have to manage this, and then we come up to the new license, new IUP to be open. That's perhaps to answer the question. Is that the question?
So for a new province, a new Kalimantan,
yes,
then they cannot issue any money.
No, they cannot
until the whole 12,000 is fixed up. That doesn't sound very fair to me.
So let me explain the rules. That now for new IUPs, first the Minister of Energy and Resources has to set up the working area, right? And then send to Bupati or governor to be tendered. See that? That's the regulation for new IUP. So since the minister never endorsed any working area, means no IUP for tender. You understand? No.
I understand what you're saying, but it doesn't make any sense to me. Maybe it makes sense to somebody else, but why punish a new province by putting an embargo on issuing IUPs?
No, they have to, of course, for new IUPs, for instance, if a government has an idea, to have new idea, they have to go to send the areas to minister first, and then minister will endorse. That's the procedure according to the law.
Well, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, Bapa, Ibu. This session has been very interesting, and I'd like to thank everyone for coming out tonight. In particular, I'd like to thank our panelists. We've got Pak Bobby, Pak Bambang, Pak Dharma, and Pak Sukhyar. In addition, I would like to thank MKK, Petrobindo, and Energy Nusantara for their support in promoting and organizing tonight's event. And I'd like to thank all of you for taking time out of your busy lives and your evenings to come out tonight. So terima kasih, saya senang sekali bertemu dengan Bapak-bapak dan Ibu-ibu.